Prime Minister, you talked about doing patriotic things, such as cutting an orange, painting a fence, or looking in on your neighbour. When did you last do any of those? Have you looked on in Rachel recently?
I have looked in on all my neighbours. What I was trying to get across there is something which I think we often overlook but really does matter, which is that millions of people in this country do lots of things to look after each other.
Yes.
I mean, cutting the orange is just running the local team. Or what it might,
You've never painted a fence, have you, Prime Minister?
Well,
or your neighbour's fence?
It's not about me painting a fence, but people. I'm really struck by the number of people that really care about their communities and want to put in. And you see it all the time. This example of people knocking on the door of a neighbour to check they're all right.
Which you do with Rachel on a regular basis?
Well, Rachel is my neighbour at the moment. I mean, we don't so much knock on the door. Our kids have bought a joint trampoline in the back garden of Downing Street.
Okay.
So they bounce around on there.
So we're checking she's well.
But the point I was making, it is because there's this. Some people argue that Britain is broken and that somehow we can't hold together. And there are wonderful things people do. And I had a number of examples in my speech. Well, there are just also the things that people, the almost ordinary little things that people do every day, where they just put in for their community. I think they're really valuable. I think they speak to who we are as Brits.
But you spoke about a broken Britain 2 years ago in this very city, Prime Minister. You said what is broken can be repaired. So Britain isn't broken or is broken?
Well,
which is it?
What I was referring to there is, bits of our system like prisons, etc., pretty broken, hospitals pretty broken. But today I was trying to make a bigger argument about who we are as a country. And
but that's a flip-flop, isn't it? Some
parts
of Britain are broken, some parts of Britain...
I think it's perfectly all right to say, look, the prison system is pretty broken and we're mending it. But at the same time, the country's not broken, who we are as a people. The speech I made, I decided early in the summer that it wouldn't be the usual sort of set of policies that are sometimes done at Labour Party conference. I wanted to make a bigger speech as who we are as a country. What does patriotism mean? What is the country that I love? And so it was a bigger argument about who we are as a people rather than whether bits of the system...
Right. What you are about to witness is one of the most uncomfortable moments in recent British political history. Nick Ferrari absolutely grilled Keir Starmer on live television, and the Prime Minister's responses have left everyone, from Westminster insiders to ordinary voters, questioning whether this man is truly fit to lead the country. This was not political theatre. This was raw, unfiltered pressure on a Prime Minister trying to explain away serious policy problems, while the interviewer refused to let him escape the tough questions. Now, before we get into this complete train wreck of an interview, here is something genuinely surprising. Around 98% of you watching have not subscribed to the British Eyes. That is pretty incredible when you are already here watching content that challenges politicians in ways much of the mainstream media often avoids. Subscribing costs nothing, takes just a couple of seconds, and helps make sure this kind of content keeps coming. Now, back to the interview that has number 10 in full panic mode.
Are broken.
Outside of prime ministerial duty, what was the last patriotic thing you did?
Well, leading my country.
But that's your duty as PM.
Yes.
So what's the last patriotic thing you did outside of a duty as the PM?
Well, I think all of us, myself included, have looked in on people, on our neighbours, to check they're all right. I do that as a friend and a neighbour all the time, along with... I'm not claiming something special for myself.
No, okay.
But both myself and Vic tend to look after our community, look after our friends and neighbours, and I'm proud to do. I'm not claiming any special role here. That is what I think genuinely millions of people do.
One thing that is perhaps currently broken is the relationship with Angela Rayner. Wes Streeting said today, we want her back, we need her back. Do you agree?
Yes, I mean, I said when Ange stepped down that she had been a major voice in the Labour movement and that she would be a major voice for many years to come. I was personally very sad to see her go, Nick. I mean, if you talk about social mobility, there is no greater story than Angela Rayner coming from very difficult circumstances to become Deputy Prime Minister.
You're ready to welcome her back.
I was very proud of that.
Yes.
She made a mistake.
Yes.
She made a mistake. She's paid a heavy price.
Indeed.
And I've always thought that she will be a major voice again in the Labour movement. And I think that is a good thing. And I've been really struck, actually, since she did step down, by the number of people from different political walks of life who say to me they do want to see Angela Rayner have that voice again at some stage.
If we come to the Middle East, you said, and I quote, "I'll never give up on diplomacy." When did you inform Benjamin Netanyahu that you would recognise the state of Palestine?
Well, I phoned him, which was the right thing to do, when I made the decision in July as to how we would go about the process. So I talked it through with him.
How did he react?
Person to person. Well, I'm not going to go into the details of the call, but it was the right thing to talk him through both the path I was going down and the reasons for going down that path. Israel is an ally, and it's important that we're clear about that. Has a right to self-defence. It's really important that we're clear about that. But I do think that the very prospect of a two-state solution was diminishing before our very eyes, and that's why I talked him through not only the path I was going down, but the reasons for going down it.
But recognition without the need to return the hostages or the bodies of the hostages. Why, Prime Minister?
The return of the hostages is an absolute demand that we've been making
but it wasn't
since
included in your recognition.
The very start that the hostages should be returned immediately. I've said that on
but
every
Keir, it wasn't
occasion.
a condition of your recognition.
No,
Some would say you rewarded terrorism.
No, I completely reject that.
Go ahead.
Because the two-state solution that I believe in is a two-state solution in which Hamas has absolutely no part in governance. It is the opposite of what Hamas says. It's not rewarding Hamas, it's writing them out of the future. They do not believe in a two-state solution. This is the precise opposite of what Hamas says. They're a terrorist organisation, and we need to be calling them out as that. But they should release the hostages, and they should play no part in governing in Palestine in the future.
Picture this. Nick Ferrari sits down with Keir Starmer, probably expecting the usual prime ministerial performance, carefully prepared answers, smooth deflections, and that polished political language that sounds impressive but commits to very little. What he got instead was a prime minister who looked visibly uncomfortable, constantly shifting between big speeches about British values and personal stories that had little to do with the questions being asked. Ferrari started with the obvious issues. Prisons overcrowded. The NHS under huge pressure. Borders that many people believe are out of control. These are not minor policy disagreements. These are major challenges facing the country. And how did Starmer respond? By talking at length about everyday acts of community spirit and patriotism. It quickly became clear that reading the mood of the room was not the Prime Minister's strongest moment. But Ferrari did not let it slide. He pushed again. What about the real problems? What about the system failures that were just mentioned? That is where things became very uncomfortable. Starmer tried to separate the idea of system failures from Britain's national character, as if struggling institutions were somehow completely separate from the government responsible for managing them. The contradiction was hard to miss. On one hand, Starmer admitted that many systems are struggling. On the other, he insisted British values remain strong. The question many people asked was simple. Which is it? Either the government is fixing these systems, or those values are being weakened by the failure to manage them properly. It is difficult to argue both at the same time. Then Ferrari moved to another major issue, Palestine. Why is the UK recognising Palestine now? What message does that send about rewarding violent groups? Starmer responded with a long explanation about diplomatic strategy and protecting the idea of a two-state solution. Ferrari pushed back straight away. How is recognising a Palestinian state while Hamas still operates in Gaza a strategic move? How does that protect Israel or move the situation closer to peace? The Prime Minister did not offer a clear answer. Instead, he shifted the focus, criticising Nigel Farage and claiming that some politicians benefit from crisis rather than solving problems. To many viewers, it looked like a familiar move. When defending the policy becomes difficult, attack a political rival. Ferrari immediately brought the conversation back again. What about border security? What real actions have actually been taken? At that point, Starmer's answers became even more vague. He accused opponents of blocking solutions, but did not clearly explain what those solutions were. Many viewers felt this was the moment the interview truly slipped away from him. Instead of clear explanations, it became a series of defensive responses and political accusations. The moment that really caught people's attention came when Starmer tried to present himself as the defender of patriotism against division. For critics, hearing a Prime Minister whose government is facing major challenges speak about civic duty and moral responsibility felt difficult to accept. Ferrari's reactions throughout the interview said a lot. Raised eyebrows when questions were avoided. Long pauses when the answers drifted away from the topic. And clear frustration when accusations were made against others without clear policy details being offered in return. The reaction online was intense. Clips of the interview spread quickly, with many viewers pointing out the gap between Starmer's speeches about values and the government's current record on issues like prisons, healthcare, and border control. Some former Labour voters even expressed regret, while political commentators began questioning whether the Prime Minister has a clear long-term vision beyond simply being different from the previous Conservative government. What this interview seemed to show, according to critics, is that Starmer believes strong language about national values can stand in for effective government action. That speeches about unity and community can distract from serious problems in public services. And that criticising figures like Nigel Farage is sometimes easier than defending difficult policies on issues like immigration or the Middle East. Nick Ferrari did what many people believe journalists should always do. He refused to accept vague answers, pressed for details, and kept bringing the conversation back to the key issues. Starmer may have walked into that interview expecting a routine discussion, but he left it looking, to many viewers, like a leader struggling to give convincing answers. The British public is watching closely. People see the problems. They hear the speeches. And more voters are questioning politicians who speak about values while the country faces serious challenges. For many viewers, this interview made that point very clear.
How do you feel about a previous Prime Minister, Tony Blair, having more influence than you do currently in the Middle East from what we saw yesterday at the White House?
Well, it looks as though there might be a possibility of some sort of deal or set of arrangements that everyone can get around. I hope that is the case, and we are working with others, with the US and Arab states, as you would expect.
You welcome Sir Tony's arrival
We're working with the US and Arab states.
And you welcome Sir Tony's arrival in this?
I'm less concerned with the particularities of who does which bit. If there's a chance of a deal, a set of arrangements around which people can move forward so that we can get those hostages out, get that aid in, and move towards a peaceful, lasting settlement in the Middle East, then I say it is our responsibility to lean into that and to try to get it.
And you're relaxed with Sir Tony being in that role?
Yes, well, so we're working with the US, working with the Arab states, as you would expect on this. And again, it's not about the personalities. We've nearly been in this place a number of times. It is really important now, if there's a prospect of ending this fighting and getting those hostages out and getting that aid in, then we should lean into that and try and make it work.
We're coming to the end of our time together. Minutes after you did your speech, and congratulations. I could see how well it went down in the hall we're sitting in now, so well done. But Nigel Farage came up, as you're probably aware, and claimed you had an obsession with him. How concerned are you that he says some of your comments could have put him at risk?
No, that's not the case.
Respectfully, that's what Mr Farage says, Prime Minister.
Well, he says a lot of things that I don't agree with. I am concerned to make the argument, and I will, on behalf of the country that I love. This tolerant, beautiful, diverse country where we pull together as a country. I am deeply concerned about reform because I think they will toxically divide our country and rip it apart. And I'm up for that fight because I think it is the fight of our times. It goes to the soul of who we are as a country.
But you mentioned Mr Farage 5 times, almost as much as you did your late father. You are mildly obsessed, aren't you?
No, not at all. There is a political divide, the like of which we have not seen in this country. You know, we traditionally have Labour versus the Tories. That is not the fight next time around. This is not peculiar to the United Kingdom. You can see it all across Europe. The centre-right parties are withering on the vine, as the Tories are. It is a different fight. It goes to a more fundamental issue, which is who are we as a country. Okay. And it's really important that I go out and fight for and defend for the country that I love, that I am a patriot of.
And you're going to still smash the gangs, lastly. Mr Farage pointed out 400 people arrived today. You're still smashing the gangs. We will not surrender our borders. Prime Minister.
We will not surrender our borders.
But 400 arrived today, Prime Minister.
I appreciate that, and we're working really hard to bring those numbers down. I'd just point this out, Nick, if I may. We are passing a borders bill, which is to give more powers to law enforcement at the borders. What did Nigel Farage do? He voted against it. We've got a returns deal with France, means we can return people to France. What does Farage say he'll do? He says he'll pull that down. We want to have ID cards so that you cannot work in our economy illegally. What does Farage do? He says he doesn't want it. Common factor here, he doesn't want to fix this problem, because if the boats stop coming across the channel, then he knows that his political currency goes down. He doesn't want to fix the problem. He wants to feed off it. That's the difference.
Prime Minister, thank you for your time.
Thank you
very much, Sir Keir.